So in this quick lesson, I'm going to teach you a really effective and simple way of taking notes for any online textbook, or if you're taking an online class and have reading that you need to take notes on. This is a really simple way to do it without having to write too much. So usually whenever you're on an online textbook, or if you're taking a course on something like Fuel Ed, you have these read sections that you're supposed to be taking notes on because they're supposed to be directly correlated or related to any quiz or unit assessment or assignment that you have later on in the unit. And so it's actually really important to take notes because that's your time to really check to see that you're understanding the material. And if you're having a hard time understanding the material, that's a really great point for you to reach out to your teacher to kind of ask some questions about the content, right? But in these sections, something that you can do is actually just highlight everything on the page. So that includes any pictures, any text, right? And then let me just pull up my keyboard so you can see exactly what I'm going to do. What I'm going to do after I've highlighted all this text is I'm going to press Control C. And that's just going to copy everything. I'm going to go into Microsoft Word, open up a new document, and then I'm just going to Control V to just paste everything on that set of notes. And so what I want to do now, because I'm going to move on to the next page of my notes, is I'm going to click onto the next page of my notes, but then also I'm going to press Command or Control Enter in my Word document to just move on to the next page, just to note that I'm moving on to the next page of my notes. And I'm going to do the same kind of thing where I'm going to highlight, Control C, go into my Word doc, Control V, Control Enter to get to the next page, and then move on to my next set of notes. And then I just want to do the same thing until all of my notes are copied and pasted. So after I've copied and pasted my entire reading, what I want to do now is actually just use a few tools in order to help me take notes. And so something that you want to make note of is using the comments option on Microsoft Word. You also have this on Google Docs. You can usually find them if you go into the top menu and go into Insert and then Comment. But another place you can find it is if you have a top bar menu, you can go into Insert, Comment again. Right? And you do this by highlighting any text or word that you want to make a comment on, and then just inserting your comment then, and then just typing. So you can say like, this is a comment. And then to start writing on the actual document again, all you have to do is just click on document and you're out of the comment box. So you want to use the comments tool in a couple different ways. So the first way is just to rewrite something that when you first read it, you were like, what does that really mean? In your own words, just so that when you're reflecting back on your notes, when you're taking a quiz, or if you're just studying, you know exactly what this says without having to do that extra brain work again. Another way that you can use comments is just to synthesize some information. So let's say that the person who was writing the textbook wrote like 3 paragraphs to explain one concept, right? So one way that you can just study and just take in that information is just by finding some way to make a comment to just kind of summarize what those 3 paragraphs were trying to get at. And then finally, just like how you do in like books or in any paper-based notes, you can also just highlight. And the way that you use highlighting is just by going into your home menu. And then you usually have a highlighting tool right over here. You just click it after you've highlighted the text, and yeah, it's highlighted. So let's actually go through an example of how to actually properly use those comments and highlighting tools in our notes. So usually whenever you have a Fuel Ed reading, you have an introduction that kind of just explains why we're going to go into whatever topic we're covering. And then you have a list of objectives. You don't have this for every reading, but then usually for whatever your first reading is, this is what you have. And you want to look through your objective really carefully because this should help guide you into looking for what you should be focusing on when you're reading. So it says, after you have completed the section, you will be able to define economics. Okay, so if I don't know what economics is, or if I don't have the definition that they want yet, I'm going to highlight this because this is something that I want to look out for. Another thing is if I go into my next objective, describe an individual economist's perspective of economics, I want to look for perspective of economics, and I'm going to highlight that. Evaluate real-world scenarios using an economist's perspective. So I want to be able to evaluate real-world scenarios using an economist's perspective. I'm going to highlight that. And then analyze personal economic rights and responsibilities as a consumer. So this is kind of a long-winded way of saying I'm just going to highlight that, insert comment. Because it's kind of long-winded, I'm just going to say consumer rights and responsibilities. And that's what I'm going to focus on. So if I go into my next page of notes, this is when I really start synthesizing my information. So right off the bat, I know that this is about explaining what economics is based on the title, but then I see this bolded term, economics is a study of the production and distribution of goods and services. It is a study of human efforts to satisfy unlimited wants with limited resources. And so this seems really, really important, right? Because it answers that first objective question. So what I could do is I could highlight. But another thing is, when you read through this, you should be able to kind of reword it in a way that like anyone could understand it if you're really getting the content, right? And so if you read this, it's a study of production and distribution of goods and services, and you're like, what the heck does that mean? This is a time when you're going to ask your teacher for further explanation to help you really understand the material. If you do understand the material, then what you can do is just once again go into insert comment, and then write this in your own words, or if you think that this is super long-winded and super wordy, what you can just do is just synthesize that information. So you can say how things are made and sold. That's what economics is, right? It's a study of human efforts to satisfy unlimited wants with limited resources. So this is telling me that there's some kind of scarcity going on. So there is a limited or finite / scarce amount of resources for all the goods people want. That's what that's really telling me, right? And so by using this commenting technique, you really get a good sense of whether or not you understand the material. And if you do understand the material, what is it really saying, and how can you break it down so that when you're taking a test, you just have to look at your comments over here and you don't have to read every single line, right? So if you have a picture, right, you can do the same thing where you can also annotate pictures. So let's say that you thought that this picture was really interesting because it showed that in economics you have to balance the wants with the resources. So you can do the same thing where you add or insert a comment, and you can just comment directly on the picture, right? So it says economics is a balancing of wants and resources. And so it's a really effective tool in terms of just getting your own thoughts on the material out there. So once you've actually taken your notes, right, what's really important next is that you save this in an effective way. And so you want to just check to see what part of your notes are you actually taking notes on. So you're taking this on Unit 1.02, pages 1 through 10. And so you want to name your document where it's easy for you to realize that you took notes on those pages 1 through 10, right? So what you want to do is just do File, Save As, and in your Documents folder or in your Desktop folder, you want to make like some kind of folder. So I said that this was Unit 1 notes, so that I could keep all my notes from my Unit 1 sections in here. And then I just want to label it like Econ to remind me that I'm doing my Econ course. And I want to label the section, so this is 1.02, so I'm just going to write 102, and then this is pages 1 through 10, so I'm going to say that this is PP 1 through 10. And then I just hit save, and then I'm done. This is really probably the most important part after you synthesize your information, because it's kind of useless to write all these notes and not be able to find them later so you can reference them. So please make sure that you're organizing your work really carefully in a digital space. And hopefully this was helpful to help you study a little bit more efficiently, and also learn a couple cool features of apps like Microsoft Word. Good luck.